There's been some drama with Nope. A lot of people thought it was too poetic and not realistic, I suppose. It didn't follow the normal film structure. The Gordy show, the monkey show. They didn't really attach that to anything other than the character. A lot of people wondered why they added that in. They kind of understood what was going on there, but they still were like, I didn't like it because it spent so much time on the poetry of it, and they didn't enjoy that. I don't really relate to that just because I like film because of the poetry, whatever it is. I mean, even like a sitcom like we talked about with She-Hulk, there's just so much poetry in that. So for people to say that it wasn't good for that reason or it was boring for that reason, I can't understand. I don't agree.
I love Nope. It's one of those movies where like I liked it straight away, but I liked it more the second and third time. It's been growing on me to the point where I'm like, damn, is this like one of my favorite films? Like maybe, but I'm not sure I quite want to say that yet, but I'm like, it's good. Like every time I watch it, I'm like, I like it more. As is kind of like the nature of Peele. There's something else I notice every time I watch it. It's kind of esoteric in that way where it's got those layers where it's more show, don't tell, and then like show within the show. Kind of just enjoy that about storytelling in general. I like having to dig through a story.
You expect Jordan Peele to give you a twist of weird. He could really do anything, and you know whatever it is, it's gonna have some type of twist in it, some type of thing that changes that's gonna make you think and also make you feel odd, make you feel weird. We've all seen that in his comedy over the years with Key and Peele. But I really want to talk about what this movie meant to us as human beings, as animals of attention, and understanding what attention really is and how some of us crave it and how some of us loathe it. There are some times where I really want people to acknowledge what I did. And then there are times where I throw my fucking hoodie up and I walk in the back of the room because it's like, don't look at me. They get right into that in the first scene with the horse. Don't look at him in the eye. OJ, the character that Daniel Kaluuya plays, he won't even look at people. He's very similar in the way that he's like, don't come around me. Not only has he been through traumatic shit with his dad, but you can even tell that's just kind of who he is. And we all know those people. When you were kids, there was that kid that you'd with, and then they were really chill, really like low key, really calm. And then you'd with them a bit, like just even for fun, and they weren't in the right mood, and they'd go off. It wouldn't be like they'd get loud, but they'd like shake you real quick. You know what I'm saying? And you'd be like, oh, for that to be his character, then to have his sister, Keke Palmer plays her. I'm trying to remember her name.
My name is Emerald.
She is the complete opposite of that. You can see in the first scene as well. It opens with her presenting herself. I do this, I do this, I do this. She's trying to make it in LA. She's trying to immediately, extrovertedly sell herself. Then you have Daniel Kaluuya, who just wants to keep his dad's business alive because that's how they run. That's how he was raised. That's what he does. He's a man of his work. He can't even like talk to all these people. He's like, nah, I need my sister. I can't do this shit. And I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna do what I have to do. But god damn it, don't ask me this question right now. Cause he can't like contain himself with that attention. You know, people start like looking at him like, hey, OJ, do this. Oh, you're new. What happened to your dad? Oh, this. Oh, your name's like, he's kind of taking everything in like really quickly. It's very well done, almost as though it's the perspective of both OJ and the horse. It really is. They're both very nervous and don't really want to be there, but they both got a job to do. And he has that relationship. Like he says later on, you got to have a relationship with it. You got to have like a back and forth. And they have that relationship. It's not as much he's like a master of the horse. As the movie goes on, he just keeps saying, I got to get back there. I got to take care of the horses. And I think it goes farther than just a man of his work. It goes into the fact that he sets up that relationship with that type of beast.
I think the major themes, I guess, that it's speaking on are attention, pride. I would say those are probably the two biggest themes, attention and pride. Love is a big one too, but that feels like a cop-out to call it a theme because it's like, when is that not a theme of any story ever? Love is just the theme of life. So I'm like, do I even throw that in there? All the eye contact and like the literal attention and how that attracts or repels and the different ways that people respond to it. So like you have OJ and how he deals with attention versus his sister. When he is on the movie set, he can't even speak to the people. He can't look at them. Like he's putting his head down. He doesn't want to do the intro. And the way that he deals with like the attention from like that group, and then the way that she soaks it up and even like takes it too far in certain ways and like can't stay on track.
And I'm Emerald Haywood. I direct, right act, motorcycles, baby.
All the way up until the point where he then conquers that though and is able to look directly at the being, I don't know what to call it, at the end. But he only does that out of love for his sister. It took the extreme for him to like conquer his innate, like kind of fearful relationship with attention and directness. There's a lot to be said about the attention and the short scenes where they're talking about Gordy the monkey and like the fact that he goes for that fist bump at the end and like the attention that he feels from all the people on that set, probably, but like just how he dealt with his anxiety around attention, how that's sometimes transmuted and understood as love and then sometimes understood as like chaos and pressure. Why does attention make some people uncomfortable and some people feel worshipped and like loved in like a positive way?
I think the word beast is a really good word. A lot of people have been trying to figure out the right word. UFO, alien, monster, creature, jean jacket. I like beast a lot. There's something about beasts. This movie's kind of about beasts, and I think humans fall under that guideline. It's about beasts of all nature and how territorial we are. Because we are spiritual beasts, we are conscious beasts. As humans, the realm that we've taken over is no longer territory, but attention. Bo Burnham speaks a lot on this if you go watch his interviews for 8th grade. He speaks a lot. And I think some of those clips are blowing up right now.
We used to colonize land. That was the thing you could expand into. And that's where money was to be made. We colonized the entire earth. There was no other place for the businesses and capitalism to expand into, and then they realized human attention. That they are now trying to colonize every minute of your life. That is what these people are trying to do.
It's all about attention and what that looks like to us in a capitalistic culture and in a performance culture where not only do we love performances, like we all went to see Nope and we all go to see movies, whatever they are, and we all got our shows we're binging and we all got our programs that we're subscribed to, but we also are all on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and wherever, always consuming, we're always performing whatever it is. Even right now, I'm trying to be as much me as possible, but I'm also trying to be a bit entertaining. There's a performance culture. Do I want attention to be here? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do I like attention when I'm in a room? No. So it's this weird thing of attention where what do you want, how do you want it, and when do you want it? Even down to the shape of the beast being that of a camera sensor. Go through the movie, you find out that you've actually been looking at the inside of the throat of the beast in a lot of the shots. The opening shot, they push into the throat of the beast and give you some of the credits. It looks like a camera sensor. A lot of people say that the beast is poetic representation of media or Hollywood or whatever. I think that's true, but I think it goes even further to the idea of attention itself. For Keke Palmer, it gives her character the aspect of attention in the idea of media. She sells herself and what she's into. She likes to be extroverted. She likes to dance and talk in front of people.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry.
Whereas Daniel Kaluuya's character, he really learns about the attention he needs to give his family, his sister. And he's always given her that attention, but also it talks on the attention that he needs to give his farm, and even more than that, himself. But Daniel Kaluuya really represents a rock in that way. I think the learning goes on low-key, just like he as a person is low-key. Like he's an older brother, and he had to take care of his sister, and they do a really good job of giving him that role. You trust him as a character. You feel safe when you're around him. I love in movies when they have characters that just make you feel safe. A la the dad from Twilight. To go even further into that opening shot, it goes into the belly of the beast. It goes right into the shot of their grandfather. Kind of speaking on what attention is for Black culture.
As far as like that whole system goes of American media that does kind of borrow Black talent, but doesn't value it on like a real level or in a way that's led with love, it's definitely frustrating. For me, I just try to like not associate with it. There's a reason why in my own work, I strive to be as independent as possible. I don't really want to bear the burden of being someone's monkey, you know, as the movie shows, or like being that person that can just get fired off of a set because you didn't contribute to the set, you didn't build it, you know, like I'll just build it for myself from the ground up. And if that takes longer, then that takes longer. But when that set is built, I'll be in control, or I'll at least be a major factor and influence in it. And I'll know that that thing is built with love because I built it. Obviously, that's way easier for me to say now in the current times with the internet and everything that I have, as opposed to being like the first Black jockey television worker, you know what I mean? Where it's like they don't really have a lot of opportunities if they don't do this. So obviously it's like, it's an easier decision for me to make than them, but somebody has to start making that decision somewhere.
The attention aspect of it, I think, is pretty easy to see what he's talking about, whether it's the attention of someone you don't like or someone you do like. Maybe you're neglected and you have a partner that doesn't look at you in the way that they want you to, or parents or a friend or whoever. You desire that attention. There's this beast of attention and what actually happens when it consumes you. Even in relationships, when someone gets too attached, there's this attention thing where it's like it consumes you. And how do you deal with those people? And And then to get into the media aspect of it, of when you get to the top of media and you're driven by this attention. I can't speak to that personally, but you hear these stories and you read these books, it actually changes you. It not only gobbles you up in the traditional way of like, leave me alone, but it gobbles you up in who it makes you into. It's an odd beast. For them to also talk about coincidence in this film, it makes you wonder what it means and what it wants to say. I'm not quite sure yet. I really am not quite sure. I think there's something to the things we look at and we go, that's so weird. What is this coincidence? What's going on there? And it's just a regular ass coincidence that happened. I'm thinking about the way that we look at UFOs in our culture and we go like, look at this evidence, look at this evidence, look at this evidence of whatever, and it may just be a coincidence. Or maybe Jordan Peele is trying to say something else. Let's talk about that shoe. What is coincidence? A remarkable concurrence of events or circumstances without apparent causal connection, correspondence in nature or in time of occurrence. What's up with that shoe? Is that supernatural? The beast is supernatural, right? Is a living thing. It gathers gas. It's gaseous in a certain way, and it can excrete that gas around it as a cloud. It blocks out electricity. It's got a throat. It does that dancing that birds do where they flap in and out. Peacocks, it peacocks. Why does it go after that thing? I guess it eats it. Like a praying mantis almost. Because a praying mantis is in the movie and it blocks the camera. Praying mantises, they get a mate and then they eat its head. It's almost like it expands itself for the thing, for like the people that are creating that relationship with it only to eat it. Very odd. But that makes sense naturally.
I like the sounds that they gave to the creature where they felt very organic and like alive. And I like that they made it feel like it was an animal and not an alien. Like it was something that was supernatural, yet still derived from the organic like components that are here. And that made it so much more believable that he could like interact with it just as he would a horse or any other animal and like tame it and move it a certain way, like it just made it feel so grounded.
That's not a coincidence to us. There's so many things in this movie that you could call a coincidence. Gordy should have murdered Steven Yeun's character. Steven Yeun thinks it was because of their relationship, but really, he just wasn't looking in the eyes. He didn't understand what he wasn't doing. There was a facade between them, the curtain. There's a coincidence. And actually, it's not the relationship what gave him all that, what he thought was goal, what he thought was power, that he could understand these beasts, that he could tame these wild beasts. What actually it was is he just got lucky. Shit. The horse's name is Lucky. They named the chapter Lucky. All the chapters are the different beasts. The horses, the monkey, the ape, and then the jean jacket. They named the beast Jean Jacket, which is also the horse that Keke Palmer, she was supposed to train that horse when they were younger. And her dad didn't even look up at her, but her brother did. And he was like, I see you. I know what's going on here. I know that you should be doing this, but you ain't. And it's just how it goes sometimes.
Ain't that just the way?
He later names the beast Jean Jacket, and the way that she guides Jean Jacket later on with the motorcycle. She takes his picture and she lets go of the balloon and it gobbles it up and it blows the fuck up. She not only takes the picture of it, but she kills it. Just like, she conquered attention. When TMZ comes up to her and they're like, don't you want to be famous? And all of a sudden she's like,
You don't want to go that way.
she's able to work through that with the help of her brother, just like Jean Jacket the horse. She wasn't able to, and it kind of drove her away. She wasn't really a part of that business, it seemed. And then for her to train that animal. I love westerns, and this kind of feels like a western, doesn't it? The end of the film, when they're trying to wrangle it, they give a rodeo vibe, and the music they play, especially when he comes out of the mist, it feels like a monster movie while also being a western. And everyone's wearing cowboy hats. It's kind of a western, yeah. Let's say it's a western. Please, please, please bring more flutes and woodwinds in movies. There's so much that they bring that is so grand, and it's been used forever. There's something light about it that gives you this good feeling. It reminds you of just classic Spielberg films. A lot of people will say bring back the strings, old movies, the 90s movies. I say bring back the woodwinds and flutes. Daniel Kaluuya's hand acting is incredible. Take a look at his hands. Watch the movie again and watch his hands. His nervousness and his anxiety, you can see it. It's beautiful. I got mouths to feed, and he ain't talking about the monster. Obviously, we all know what he's talking about. He's talking about the horses. But that's an interesting parallel. The beast is coming around, eating all their shit, and he's going to, he's got to feed his beast. And the way you create relationships. And some animals just can't be tamed, I suppose. Just like the dad says. By the way, I love that actor. Oh my gosh. What's his name? Keith David, right? Keith David. It talks on just relationships with things that are not of you that are different than you, and the way that you share territory with others. You sometimes have to fight the people for your territory of time and attention. It's not just a fight of where you live, which it is for a lot of people, but it's also a fight of your mental space, your attention, and who gets it, because time is limited. Let's talk about how they use trauma to save the day. I think a lot of us understand how trauma teaches us to be more of ourselves. To see it in this film with the death of his dad, Disney style, and the trauma of Steven Yeun's character. He thinks he's using his trauma. Rather, he's just kind of re-traumatizing. And it gives him this numb thing, this numb feeling. He doesn't move forward and not look at it. He looks right at it and it gobbles him up. Just like the beast. It is both very poetical and very, very physical. He thinks he's mastered it. He thinks it's that relationship it was with the monkey, but really he just wasn't looking it in the eyes. He thinks he has this power, this thing that nobody else has. You can try to create relationship, but there are some things you can't. They're just territorial, and you got to figure out how to fight. Figuring out when it's a mutual relationship, you're talking and you're doing stuff, and when you don't really know who's on top. Tragedy worship is really, really weird. Steven Yeun's character, the kid from the Gordy show, and he grows up. He has this back room where he keeps all the Gordy stuff, and he says that people will pay to go and stay there, and people go to see that, and that's a regular thing, especially in this age where the Jeffrey Dahmer things are coming out and people are talking about that. People are buying his glasses. A topic in conversation right now is, why do people become obsessed with tragedy, this tragedy worship? I believe that worship is attention. When you worship something, whether you go to a Christian worship service and they play, Christian rock music, or you go to a synagogue worship service and you are reading from the Torah, and maybe you go to a concert and you love the band, you're screaming, you're throwing your hands up, and it becomes very euphoric. These are all ways of worship. Even watching a movie and going to a theater, people call their church as like a joke, but it's very true.
I feel like attention and worship are essentially the same thing. I think worship is the pure, unbroken attention to anything, to something. And when you give something your complete presence and your complete understanding and knowing, that's really what worship is. And I think that's a very powerful thing. I think that something can be fundamentally changed by receiving worship. And then I think also the worshiper and the person giving that attention is changed at the same time. So it's a weird twofold process of like attention giver and the attention and worship receiver forming each other through that moment of acute presence.
People also worship tinier gods, idols, if you will. The director in the movie Nope, they're worshiping his craft and filming things to the point of his eventual almost suicide. I would call it a suicide. He wants to die doing what he loves, essentially dying worshiping his god of filmmaking. What they focus on, what they give their attention to. So you could almost say that this movie is less about attention, more about worship, but that's kind of a weird thing. I don't know. It's too poetic. It's too religious. It just makes me feel like Pig is on the roof. That was a fun thing. I liked the pig on the roof from the thing that got sucked everyone up, and the pig landed on the roof. It was a pig on the roof. I don't really think I have to go into that more. There was a pig on the roof. That was pretty. I liked that. That was cool. Why don't beasts like reflections? Why don't beasts like reflections? Why are you always running away from what you know to be true about you? Pretty cool, right? Why don't people like looking into their reflection? Now, it's a much more physical thing for regular beasts. The horse can't look at its reflection. Don't look it in the eyes. But don't look me in the eyes. Back to that hoodie shit. I walk in the room and everyone's circled up. Hey, Alex, welcome. How you doing? Everyone's looking at me now. I'm fine. I'm good. Haha. Why is everyone looking at me? I feel blessed to have a certain kind of personality where I don't mind being confronted, but I think there's something about confrontation, the idea of reflection. People tell me I look too deeply into people's eyes sometimes. Like, they're like, why do you still look like you hold eye contact for too long? And I'm not saying it's not weird. I'm definitely weird for that. What is it about confrontation that people are so afraid of that eye contact? What do they see? Why are they like, don't look, like, what is this like thing of like, don't look at me? Where does that come from? What's inside of us that doesn't want to be revealed? What's hiding from essentially in dark? The more that people look, the more you're like, get away. Like, don't fucking. Daniel Kaluuya's character is like, don't look at what I got nothing for you. Don't fucking look at me. And it's not like he's hiding anything. He just doesn't like you. He doesn't know you. Kiki, they're not her people either, but she's so desperate for their attention. She wants the attention of people she doesn't even know. The director, when they call him, he's always watching these eyes. He's staring at wildlife, the way that his windows peer into like trees and such. And when they're on the phone, he's watching a snake strangle a tiger. What does that mean? We talked about that, the fact that he worships art, what he tries to capture, but I think he also worships life. The director dies a worshiper's death. Yeah, love that. The director dying a worshiper's death, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Definitely weird. Definitely weird. But is it a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, he definitely chose it. He worships capturing things with light on cameras. Kind of freaky and sci-fi when you think about it. But he's a light capturer. That's what he does.
He like doesn't care at all anymore for his life. He's at this point dedicated his entire life to capturing what he calls this impossible shot, this impossible moment. But I think for him, when he goes out on that hill and he knows he's going to die to get that shot, for him, that is life. At some point, you just have to like decide what you think your purpose is. And in that moment, get in that deep compulsion within his spirit. And he knows that his purpose in that moment is to do that. Every person has to individually decide what they're living for and what's worth living for. And when you decide what's worth living for, you decide what's worth dying for in the same breath. And he decided in that moment what that was. I think any sort of like kamikaze situation is always extreme, but sometimes extreme is exactly what you need or exactly what feels right or in alignment with love or goodness.
That image that he's capturing, it's not for anybody. He's just capturing the image. And he captured the greatest image of this fucking beast. And he's going to capture it the whole way through. He's going to get the whole journey, even the inside. He's going to get the greatest image ever. He was a part of something bigger than himself. You know, he's probably like, this is how I'm going to go out. He's lived a life. He's old, speaking in poems. Fucking weirdo. Who does that?
Well, I came down to Earth and I hid in a tree. I said, Mr. Purple People Eater, don't eat me.
He wanted that? Fine, go for it. I get that. I filmed in riots. It's pretty scary, but it's like you have this adrenaline where you're like, I'm going to keep going, depending on who you are and the kind of art that you capture, because, you know, art from every angle is important, and where your spirit leads you is where you should capture your art. Nothing is better or worse, but some things are more dangerous than others. So for him to make that choice of death to capture the biggest fish he could capture, the biggest fish he could fish, go for it, buddy. I like the costume designer was like, give him scarves. He's a director. Give him a scarf. Jordan Peele was apparently supposed to make an Akira movie. I think that's pretty dope. But I'm happy that they're not making an Akira movie because I don't want a live action Akira. If anyone's gonna do it, it should be Jordan Peele for sure. But I just don't, I'm not looking for an Akira film, you know? I liked what it is and anime adaptations are just not always done well. So I don't really need that shit. But that Akira slide that they do in it makes me the happiest little boy in the world. The screams in The Beast as they go over is incredible sound design, first of all, because it's terrifying. But second of all, it's so similar to just sounds in the air. You hear those screeches in the air from planes. It sounds like the wind in the hills. It's absolutely terrifying when it's just quiet. The quiet of the film is really well used, even in the Gordy scene. There's just such good use of silence to demonstrate unease. Silence makes you pay attention again. It makes you look at it. They throw the camera up when the UFO, the beast, comes around. It allows you later on after the movie to just kind of get the same feeling of when you hear that. It makes you go, and you're in the movie again. Terrifying. You know? When Angel goes,
it's here.
I love how he talks about that. Go get the actor from their trailer. It is so much wrangling actors, and the fact that they're like crew and they're a team and they're all trying to capture this thing. As filmmakers, and I'm guessing a lot of you guys are here. If you guys have ever worked with actors, you know what it's like to work with those type of artists. And they are emotional artists. They're not like us in the way that we're working with a machine. We have a job to do, which is usually stay calm and get what you need to get. Because usually what we're getting is them emoting in time, and that's tough to do. So it really is trying to wrangle them together. You got to wrangle them, especially as a director. Trying to get an actor in the right vibe. So much of it is acting with them. If we need to do an exciting scene, like I'll go right to them and we want to get like their type of vibe. You want to match it. You want to get close to them. But then if it's a scene where you want them to be sad, you really almost kind of want to like keep it really down. You're matching their vibe, and it really has a lot to do with not looking at them sometimes. And I'm not talking about some like actor like don't look at me. I don't mean that. I mean make them feel comfortable. In the way that they make the beast feel comfortable. Make them feel comfortable. and people will mirror you. That's a lot of what this is. People are reflections of themselves. I'm a reflection of you. You're a reflection of me. So much of what we are is a reflection, in and out, matching each other's energy and creating an energy and knowing when you can lead and knowing if you are a leader and if people look to you in a certain way and knowing who's on top, whatever scenario it is, because sometimes you got a bad leader and you got like a side leader, like a stage manager. Everyone on set knows like they fuck with the stage manager, but everyone hates the director. The stage manager will create the vibe. And it's about knowing who leads in that way. And a director, a smart one, should even know like, I don't create the vibe. Let me like have the stage manager run this while I'm trying to make this art. Or, get better at creating a good vibe, director. Knowing where you stand in people's eyes and if they'll reflect where you're at. And so when they wrangle the beast, he knows to give it what it wants and then can wrangle it and like slowly walk it. It's flapping its shit, and he's like walking with it. The beast is getting weirder and more beautiful, but you still can't look. It's trying to antagonize her. Keep going, keep moving forward, keep doing what you're doing there, and then kill that beast. You don't need that attention. You don't need them. You don't need those people. You don't need them. You don't need their attention. Seriously, drop them. Drop them, leave. You don't need that anyway. So don't look, but look at those that you love. He stays looking at her. It's that like, look at those that you love. Look at those that you're there for. Go home to your horses. I got mouths to feed. Look at those that you love and look at what you love. A lot of Western is based in frontiers, in this Western vibe with the hats and the dust and the LA and the whatever. They're wrangling this beast. They're trying to take their land back from the thing that owns it, that runs it, that feasts on their things. They destroy it, almost like they're fighting the tiger of the village. And that even goes to the snake strangling the tiger that the director is watching. The fact that this small snake, this animal that represents in biblical texts and in so many other texts represents insanity. You see it just get around this tiger and it kill it. And you're seeing that in this movie. I do think about what that means. Are we the snake? Are we demons? Are we the devil? Are we God trying to run away from being God? And when you look too closely at yourself and at others and you're a reminder of what you are, you're almost like, don't remind me. In the way that we look out and we see beauty, but it also eats us. Or what are we running away from originally? These are the things that I think about in my brain. These are all the things that I think about in my brain. That's what goes in my head.